Evangelion 3.0 plus 1.0 Thrice Upon a Time. Evangelion 3.0 plus 1.0 Thrice Upon a Time Shin Evangerion Gekijōban. Shin Evangerion Gekijōban is a 2021 Japanese animated science fiction film written and directed by Hideaki Anno and produced by Studio Khara. It is the fourth and final film in the Rebuild of Evangelion film series, part of the Neon Genesis Evangelion franchise. After a protracted development and multiple delays, Thrice Upon a Time was released on March 8, 2021 to positive reviews, and it not only became the highest-grossing film of the franchise, but also the second highest-grossing Japanese film of 2021 at 10.28 billion. It was released internationally on August 13, the same year via the Amazon Prime Video streaming service. Plot: in Paris, a team from the Will organization, led by Meyer Ibuki, works on a system designed to restore the city to its previous state. Upon being attacked by nerve forces, they are defended by the Wonder Fleet and marry illustrious Makinami in Unit -8. Mary defeats the attackers, and the Will team restores Paris. Asuka Shikanami Langley, Rei Ayanami, and Shinji Ikari, still despondent, are walking across the outskirts of Tokyo -3. They arrive at a settlement of survivors and encounter Toji Suzuhara, Hikari Horaki, and Kensuke Ada, now adults. Toji is a doctor and has a child with Hikari, while Kensuke is a technician, and all are friendly to Shinji. Asuka expresses frustration with Shinji force-feeding him. As Shinji slowly recovers, Rei explores the village and settles down, working as a farmer. Shinji meets Ryoji Kaji, the son of Misato Katsuragi and the late Ryoji Kaji, who died averting third impact. Rei requires constant exposure to LCL and cannot maintain herself. Wonder arrives to pick up Asuka, and Shinji decides to go with her despite protests from the crew. Shinji is placed in isolation. Meanwhile, Kozo Fuyutsuki, distressed over Shinji's treatment by Gendo Ikari enforcing him to experience the same loss as him, helps Gendo restart Unit -13. In response, Wonder heads to Antarctica. Before the mission, Asuka admits her past feelings for Shinji but states that she grew up before him, referring to their actual ages being 28, but bodies being stuck at 14 due to the curse of Eva, as well as Shinji's suspended animation between the events of 2.0 and 3.0. Shinji apologizes to Asuka for being indecisive in either saving or killing her whilst she was under the control of the Ninth Angel in Unit -3 14 years ago. Asuka accepts the apology and recognizes he is growing up. Wonder is attacked by 3 nerve ships and a swarm of EVA units. Asuka and marry Sortie and move to destroy Unit -13 before it can reactivate. However, Unit -2 refuses to attack Unit -13, forcing Asuka to remove her eye patch, revealing the Ninth Angel contained within, converting Unit -2 into a pseudo-evolved EVA Angel hybrid like Shinji's Unit -1 14 years ago. Unit -13 overpowers and absorbs Unit -2 according to Gendo's plan. Moments before being absorbed, Asuka is approached by her original, revealing she is a clone of the Shikanami series. Meanwhile, the Wonder is attacked by a new EVA, Unit -9A. In the nerve vessel restraining the Wonder, Misato and Ritsuko Akagi confront Gendo. Ritsuko shoots him to no effect as Gendo has used the key of Nebuchadnezzar to transcend humanity. Gendo reveals that the purpose of the Shikanami and Ayanami clones is to enact the Human Instrumentality Project and enters Unit -13. A determined Shinji asks Misato to let him pilot Unit -1. Sakura and Midori Kitakami try to stop Shinji, but Misato protects him and is shot in the process. Misato apologizes to Shinji, saying that she was wrong to blame him and will take responsibility for his actions, as she is still technically his legal guardian. Mary takes Unit -8 and merges it with Units 9 through 12. Inside Unit -1, the original Ayanami clone appears before Shinji, apologizing for not being able to spare him from having to get into an EVA, but Shinji says it is all right. Gendo and Shinji fight in a surreal anti-universe, and Gendo shows Shinji an imaginary Evangelion, a Black Lilith. Shinji meets Gendo, seeing a vision of his past experiences, including how Yui's loss traumatized him. As a result, Gendo wanted to initiate an additional impact for a chance to reunite with Yui. Meanwhile, Misato evacuates the crew of the Wonder and sacrifices herself and the ship to create the Lance of Gaius, which gives Shinji the power to rewrite the world. Shinji talks with and provides closure to Gendo, to Asuka, returning her feelings, and to Kaworu Nagisa, revealing the existence of a cycle the cast is trapped in. Kaworu also talks with the elder Kaji, who helps him understand that his own happiness should not be tied to Shinji's. Shinji says farewell to Raid, deciding upon a complete reset of the world, a Neon Genesis, without Evangelions. Gendo and Yui sacrifice themselves to spare Shinji from doing so himself. Shinji waits on a beach as reality resets until Mary comes back to get him, with her final Evangelion being the last to disappear. The children are all present as adults at a train station, and Shinji and Mary leave to a shot of the real world. Cast. New character. Production. Early development and delays. The film was announced alongside Evangelion 3.0 You Cannot Redo for release in 2008 as the final part of the Rebuild series under the working title Evangelion Final. After delays of the first 3 films, Evangelion Final was expected for release in 2015. In 2014, following the troubled production of the 3rd film, director and producer Hideaki Anno became depressed and announced that the film would be further delayed to an unknown date, stating publicly in 2015 that he could not work on another film. As part of his recovery, Anno had also worked on Studio Ghibli's The Wind Rises under his mentor Hayao Miyazaki. Toho, which co-distributes the film in Japan with Toei, also approached Anno with an offer to direct a reboot of its Godzilla film series, Shin Godzilla, which also contributed to the delay on 3.0+1.0. Getting Toei and Toho in the same film had been a long-standing dream of Anno's. Financial reasons also played a part. In 2014, Anno's Studio Khara loaned his former company Studio Gainax $100,916,400. In 2016, Anno filed a claim for debt collection, fearing not only for the return of the money but also because of Gainax selling production materials to third parties after a precedent of other sales of intellectual property without informing him. This was part of several legal issues surrounding Gainax and Evangelion. After a formal apology from Anno, animation director Teichi Honda stated that the last film had resumed development after the production of Shin Godzilla ended in late 2016, with Studio Khara tweeting on April 5, 2017, that development was going smoothly. In May 2018, the studio put out a job listing for animation staff to work on 3D CG, VFX, and 2D animation starting on June 30, 2018. Animation was going through the final check by October 2, 2020. Dialogue recording wrapped on November 19, 2020. On December 16, 2020, Studio Khara announced that compositing and editing work had finished. In 2019, the film was scheduled for a June 27, 2020 release date but received 2 delays due to concerns over the COVID-19 pandemic, first scheduled for a January 23, 2021 release, before being released on March 8, 2021. Development. Anno was very reluctant to return to work on the film in 2016. In 2018, Anno had asked for the opinion of voice actors like Megumi Agata Shinji on how to move the plot forward after 3.0. Anno felt he could no longer understand Shinji, and by now his current self was closer to Gendo than Shinji, and needed Agata's input on how Shinji could recover after the events of 3.0. Anno felt that at that point the only people who could understand Shinji's feelings were Agata herself and his personal assistant, Iki Todoroki. Anno himself had intended to go to Paris for Japan Expo 2019, but the film's continuing delays in production prevented him. Anno had often visited the film's music composer Shiro Sajisu, who lives half the year in Paris, and wished to pay homage to the city in the opening 10 minutes of the movie, entitled Aventone before in French, seeking to surpass his earlier depiction in Nadia, The Secret of Blue Water. At the event, Agata also recounted Anno had asked what ending she preferred as Shinji. Aventone +2, including a further 2 minutes of the opening sequence, was also streamed on Khara's YouTube channel and Japanese Amazon Prime Video for free for 2 weeks. Dialogue for parts of and B set after Avant started recording in March 2019. As there were several changes to the plot, many voice actors had to come back and record lines again. In 2020, due to the pandemic restrictions, production slowed down further and recording was mostly done by the voice actors separately as many dozens of takes were necessary. Agata first notified the recording as almost finished in February 2020, but as production slowed down, staff began retouching several aspects of the film, and Agata later noted the voice actors organized themselves through a line group. This created a bond between the cast that was unprecedented in previous productions. At the end of recording, Anno thanked the cast for their contributions. Yuko Miyamura, who played Asuka, was instructed to treat her character as completely separate from the series Asuka Langley Soryu, and the last thing asked of her was to write the character's full name in cursive herself to be used in the movie. She had lived in Australia for the past 2 decades, but was still unsure of how to write Langley. Miyamura expressed her surprise at Anno's behavior near the end of production. In contrast to his behavior during the making of End of Evangelion, Anno-san is amazing. He has become an adult. Anno sought to bring in new talent and people outside the usual Evangelion core crew, like Darling in the Franxx creator Atsushi Nishigori, a protege of his, while other core staffers like chief editor Masayuki largely stepped down in order to allow new talents to gain more experience. In addition, the series' original character designer, Yoshiyuki Sadamoto, has had diminishing involvement since 3.0, and the new character designs are mostly done by Hidenori Matsubara. Anno had long stated his wish to revitalize the anime industry and saw the sponsorship of new creators as a prime way of achieving this, as well as the promotions of events backed by Studio Khara like the Japan Animator Expo. Director Maharu Mita recounted Anno wanted him to figure out specific details of the plot on his own when asked. Similarly to production in the series, Anno would take ideas from staffers but have the final word in plot decisions. Anno had also been an advocate of employing new and innovative animation technologies, combined with extensive use of motion capture and computer-generated imagery, and employed them in the film. Mita and others noted nonetheless that Anno seemed to be directing the film more like a live-action film than animation, including in the way he directed the voice actors, taking cues from theater techniques after his previous experience outside Evangelion, despite the staff's own limited experience, something he had previously attempted in Cutie Honey. He thought Anno wanted to get out of here the most, but expressed his feelings in film sincerely. Director Kazuya Tsurumaki details Anno wanted to try a new process for the film. Instead of first creating storyboards and then developing the animation based on them as is traditional, Anno proposed to first draw the animation cells and then draw the scenes from them. This technique was generally referred to by staff as pre-visualization. He was once more inspired from the usual process in live action, where scenes are first shot from multiple angles and then stories are created and then selected during editing. The latter half of the film, however, progressively returned to the traditional anime style. Tsurumaki noted the original intention was that the first 80% of the Rebuild series would be a compilation of the original anime series, and the changes would only start with the last film, in keeping with earlier comments in 2006 by producer Toshimichi Otsuki regarding the intention that only the ending would be a major departure from the series, as staff felt. This eventually changed, and major changes started happening as early as Evangelion 2.0 You Cannot Advance. He also noted that the previously stated goal of destroying Evangelion through the character of Mary was entrusted to an external party. Anno would ask the opinion of many parts of staff, including those not involved in the actual film like office staff, for their opinions on several nuances. Anno's wife Moyoko Anno provided early designs for some characters. Studio Ghibli also provided assistance to scenes set in the survivors' village. For the village itself, Khara had a box model custom-built to orientate the artists, and Anno personally adjusted it to the smallest details, like individual house layout, with road and utility posts to make it as realistic as possible. Staff consulted with multiple professionals and conducted research like skydiving for maximum accuracy. A making-of documentary aired on Japanese broadcaster NHK in March 22, 2021, with the crew following production for 14 days. BS Japan also broadcast an extended version of the documentary on April 29, 2021, totaling 100 minutes of runtime, featuring unused footage. Amazon Prime Video included the extended version of documentary in its international release of the film in August. When production started in 2016, Anno initially intended to not involve himself much in the film, wishing to delegate most of it to his directors, particularly Tsurumaki, generally considered Khara's second in command, but as the release date approached with mounting production problems, he progressively took more control and took on more tasks directly, also driven by his performance. Mido was also not initially serving as a director, but was brought in the middle of production. Kim Morrissey of Anime News Network described it as tumultuous. There were several occasions shown when he decided that the work he had done at the time was insufficient and would scrap it entirely. The final D part of the script was eventually completed in early 2019. At the latest possible stage it could have been done to meet the deadline. In the documentary, Anno is depicted. Part had been rewritten 40 times due to the difficulty staff had in depicting it, and at one point Anno was so lost on how to resolve the storylines, he considered restarting it from scratch after 9 months of work. Anno told the documentary crew he wouldn't miss working on the franchise, and said everything he needed to, but felt finishing his work remained a priority, even at the expense of his well-being. He told Agata later at post-production that he'd indeed miss it. Hayao Miyazaki described Anno as one who sheds blood for his films. Upon finishing production, Anno preferred to immediately start work on a script for a new production while his staff was watching the first screening together. Gainax co-founder Toshio Akata criticized the documentary as sloppy and propaganda trying to make Anno look better, claiming Anno's live-action approach in fact took inspiration from Hiroyuki Yamaga's work in Royal Space Force, The Wings of Hanimise, instead of being sui generis, as the documentary implied, and Anno noted the crew was in fact not present. On March 28, 2021, the cast was fully reunited for the first time in 14 years and held a stage greeting, commenting on the film and their bond to the characters. On April 12, 2021, directors Anno, Tsurumaki, and Mido, as well as Agata, held another stage greeting. On June 26, 2021, Anno held a live stream on singer Hikaru Utada's Instagram page and debated the film. The cast and directors also participated in the all-night Nippon radio show on June 22, 2021. On June 27, 2021, another cast greeting was held. Mary's voice actress Maya Sakamoto explained she had been absent from the previous events because she felt apprehensive over the details she knew about Mary's character that Anno told her, but refused to share them. "I will take secrets to my grave." A last stage greeting was held on July 11, 2021. Anno felt he had now done everything he could with anime, and accordingly Khara denied reports that he was working on a reboot of a popular animation series. He also noted he initially attempted a shorter 2-hour runtime but had to extend it. Anno had originally intended on making a new Evangelion story since 2000 and has intended to open up the franchise in the future to new creators and turn EVA into a new Gundam, using the rebuilds as a foundation for this, but 3.0 plus 1.0 is intended to be his final Evangelion work. The Animator Expo already featured 3 independent works based on the franchise, Evangelion Another Impact and Neon Genesis Impacts, as well as Until You Come to Me, a short film intended to showcase the talent of younger Khara animators, not as an official trailer. In an interview in August 2021, Anno stated other parts of the franchise and story might be revisited later. Staff also commented on doubts over this being the end of the story. Music. The film's theme song is One Last Kiss. The song, performed by Hikaru Utada and co-produced by Utada and A.G. Cook, was scheduled to be released for digital download on January 24, 2021, and as an extended play CD and LP record featuring remastered versions of the previous Rebuild of Evangelion theme songs on January 27. It was released alongside the film on March 9, 2021 and internationally in the summer. Utada noted this was the first time they wrote the song's lyrics based on reading a finished version of the film's script instead of simply skimming over early rough draft. Anno also directed the music video for the song. A soundtrack album, titled Shiro Sajisu Music from Shin Evangelion, was scheduled to be released on February 10, 2021, but was also delayed due to the delay of the film. It was released on March 17. The 3-disc score utilized several revamped tracks from Sajisu's previous works for Anno, like Nadia, The Secret of Blue Water and Kare Kano, as well as featuring cover versions of Voyager Hizyuki no Naiboyu by Megumi Hayashibara, originally written and performed by Yumi Matsutoya for 1984's Bye Bye Jupiter, and a cue from a vocal song based on the track What If, orchestra, choir, and piano from the soundtrack album titled Shiro Sajisu What If, Yoko Takahashi Ver, was released as a digital single on August 31, featuring Yoko Takahashi and arrangements by Sajisu himself. Release. On July 6, 2019, Khara screened the first 10 minutes of the film on Japan Expo in Paris, Anime Expo in Los Angeles, and CCG Expo 2019 in Shanghai. The film was originally scheduled for release on June 27, 2020. In April 2020, it was announced that the film had been removed from the schedule due to concerns regarding the COVID-19 pandemic, and the film was later rescheduled for release on January 23, 2021. The theatrical release poster was revealed shortly afterwards with the tagline Bye Bye, All of Evangelion, indicating that this would likely be Anno's final Evangelion-related project. Anno released a statement via Studio Khara's Twitter in October apologizing for the delay while confirming the film was near completion. Khara suggested the runtime of the finished film could be over 2 hours, with the D part clocking in at 41 minutes. They also reported that as of October 2, the film was undergoing a rush check, a final check of the animation before editing. On January 14, 2021, the film was removed from the release calendar again. On February 16, 2021, it was reported that the film would be 154 minutes long, making it the longest film in the Rebuild tetralogy and one of the longest animated feature films ever, behind the films In This Corner and Other Corners of the World, Final Yamato, The Disappearance of Haruhi Suzumiya, and Revival of Evangelion. On February 26, Hikaru Utada's staff account on Twitter reported that the film's feature song One Last Kiss would be released on March 8, 2021, with a link to their website with more information confirming a new release date for the film of March 8, 2021. This was also confirmed on Studio Khara's website, along with a runtime of 155 minutes. Updated release. An updated version of the film, titled Evangelion 3.0 plus 1.1 Thrice Upon a Time, was released in Japanese theaters on June 12, 2021. This version features updated cuts of various scenes while not changing the overall story of the film. It also accompanied the distribution of a 36-page booklet called EVA Extra Extra, including non-canon illustrations by staff and a prequel manga set before the events of the previous film, Evangelion 3.0 You Cannot Redo, called Evangelion 3.0-120. Written by director Kazuya Tsuromaki. The manga was Anno's initiative and began production on April 11. Internationally, Amazon Prime Video acquired exclusive streaming rights to the film. It was released worldwide on August 13, 2021, excluding Japan. However, on July 20, 2021, Amazon Prime Video announced that it will also stream the film in Japan on the same day as its international release. It featured full redubbings of the previous Rebuild films, including several voice actors from the AD Vision and Manga Entertainment localizations of the original series and films, in place of the mostly new cast used in the Funimation adaptations of the Rebuild series and Netflix's adaptation of the series. Like Netflix's release, it also included a full retranslation by Khara's in-house translator, Dan Kanemitsu. Reception. Japanese reception has been highly positive. The Asahi Shimbun released a series of reviews from Japanese academics and critics. Hiroki Azuma praised the film as a grand masterpiece and thought it was nearly impossible for the film to respond to all the burden it carried, but it did so successfully. He considered that, although it outwardly looks like a science fiction film, it is in reality a confessional novel by Anno. Commenting on Anno's style, anime director Mamoru Oshii shared this perception and considered that Anno is more of a producer than a director these days and felt that he lacked a theme. In a later interview with comedian Hitoshi Matsumoto, Anno himself later echoed this, saying that as a director he could afford to be a child, but not after he started producing. Akiko Sugawa praised the portrayal of its female characters. Japanese aggregator site Eiga.com and others praised the movie for fulfilling its promise of being easily approachable to a viewer not familiar with the original Neon Genesis Evangelion, reiterating its role as a standalone story, but also likening it to the series' status as a pop culture phenomenon in view of the many emerging analyses. On aggregator site Filmarks, the film attained the highest first-day satisfaction score in its history. Reviewers also noted the film's deeply divisive reception among Evangelion fans, with the ending proving particularly controversial. Gainax co-founder Toshio Akata promulgated an association between the character of Mari and Anno's wife Moyoko, and was rebuffed by significant backlash from Khara staff. Moyoko, Anno himself, instead pointed out to Tsurumaki's responsibility for developing her and similarities to his earlier characters from FLCL and D-Buster, which shared her voice actress, and Anno's ditchment from her creation. Similarly to End of Evangelion, reviewers considered the film to have the theme of moving into reality, but were divided on the effectiveness of its execution and the resolution of its plot lines. Gunshan Online concluded that unlike the 1997 film, 3.0 plus 1.0 did not intend to give viewers a mystery to solve, but to provide a more straightforward answer. Writers for Yahoo! Japan and others agreed on its distinctiveness from the previous work, reflecting a different cultural context and personal state of Hideaki Anno, speculating his time at Ghibli had greatly influenced him, with a less multifaceted story where Shinji's character had been completely consumed by Anno attempting to break the otaku curse represented in story by writer Ikisi Leaded concluded he could not decide if he liked the film or not, but felt if he watched it again after some years, he'd think it was a bad film, not feeling the same feeling of confusion mixed with amazement as 1997's End of Evangelion or its 2012 predecessor Evangelion 3.0. Lida expressed disappointment at a sense of déjà vu, characterizing the film a self-imitation of Anno's past works. Lida felt that Shinji's maturing was not surprising, but expected, as he had already gone through that process with the 1997 film. Similarly, he noted how the generation that grew up with the Rebuild films could feel like their own coming of age would be marked by the film, but for an older fan such as himself, that had already happened with the 1997 movie. Anno had partly recreated his hometown of Ube as it existed during his youth for the ending scene, prompting tourism from fans to the town. In contrast to the negative receptions of its predecessor Evangelion 3.0 You Cannot Redo, Western critical reception has been extremely positive. As of October 2021, it holds a 100% score and an average score of 8.70/10 on review aggregator Rotten Tomatoes with 16 reviews. According to Metacritic, which calculated a weighted average score of 84 out of 100 based on 7 critics' reviews, the film received universal acclaim. Richard Eisenbays of Anime News Network noted the film's close connections with End of Evangelion on a thematic and narrative level and praised its characterization, while also noting its different themes, but criticized its world building and also the lack of development given to Mary to justify her role in the plot. Kyle McLean of IGN praised the film for having themes of maturity, hope, and positivity, but disliked the final act as inscrutable. Matt Schley of the Japan Times shared his opinion, saying Thrice is not the charm for those hoping for a definitive, easy-to-understand ending for Evangelion. Like its predecessors, 3.0+1.0 raises more questions than it answers. Time is a circle. Justin Harrison of The Spool called it a deeply moving motion picture. Sora News 24 expressed puzzlement at the ending, but noted the film is complex, hits different people in different ways, and is something that immediately triggers a repeat viewing reaction. Crunchyroll's Darrell Harding noticed the film goes pretty meta and praised its direction, but repeatedly criticized the animation. AutoQuest's Chris Simi noted the film builds an aesthetic that is meaningfully different from the series' iconic visual language, to a point of contention. The CG sure does look like CG. Andrew Osmond of Neo felt that although there were things about the film that felt indulgent, pandering, and flat-out dumb, he felt satisfied with the film, noting a resolution of Evangelion's baseline conflict, and felt the film managed to synthesize Anno's previous efforts into a coherent and touching ending. Although he believed the Evangelion franchise has been bolder and more brilliant in the past, he stated that the film brings it to a beautiful ending. Box office. Anno stated his desire to see 3.0+1.0 break the 10 billion mark. The film was released in Japan on March 8, 2021, earning $802,774,000. The film grossed $3,308,422,400 $30,506,851 in its first week, ranking #1 in Japan in its opening week. In 21 days, the film sold 3,961,480 tickets and grossed 6,078,211,750 yen, $492,310 in Japan, outdoing 3.0's total earnings of 5 yen 3 cents. In 30 days, it surpassed 7 yen billion $63.77 million, completing 4 weeks as #1 in Japanese box offices. On May 8, it surpassed Shin Godzilla and became Anno's highest-grossing film at 8 yen 28 billion $75.72 million. With the 3.0+1.1 updated release on June 12, the film jumped back to top box office spot after spending a weekend out of the top 10 chart, and on June 15, exactly the 100th day since release, achieving a 960.5% increase, reached 9 yen billion $81.07. On July 13, it was announced that the film has exceeded 10 yen billion, becoming the first ever film distributed by Toei to hit this box office milestone and ending its theatrical run on July 21, pocketing 10 yen 23 sen billion with an attendance number of 6.69, finishing with almost double as its predecessor's 5 yen. Japanese Twitter archival site Fusetter had its all-time highest view count on March 9. After the film's August streaming release, it broke Amazon Prime Video's all-time high day one view amount since its launch in Japan. By December 2021, the movie became the highest-grossing movie of the year in Japan, accounting for over 10.2 billion yen, about $89. The film has grossed a Japanese box office total of 10 yen 28 sen billion, $96.28 million. Future. In February 2022, Hideaki Anno announced a new project titled as the Shin Japan Heroes Universe SJHU, which is a collaboration between Khara with Toei, Toho, and Sugiura that combines concepts and characters from Rebuild of Evangelion with remake versions of Godzilla, Kamen Rider, and Ultraman into a shared universe. The new film series started with Shin Godzilla in 2016, continuing with Shin Ultraman in 2022 and Shin Kamen Rider in 2023.